Hey everybody, welcome to What the Flick. Ben, Grace, Alonso. It is season 2 of UnREAL, episode 3, Guerilla. And whoa.
Oh yeah.
Shit's getting real, as they say.
Yeah.
I'm going to offer a word of caution to them because you guys were saying in the Facebook Live intro that, you know, it's not having a sophomore slump and you didn't think Quinn could go any further. I think a key to this show, which is called UnREAL, I got it, has to be that they keep some foot in recognizable human behavior. And all of them, or at least Quinn and Craig Bierko.
Chet.
And, Quinn and Chet are wildly over-the-top characters now, right? I mean, am I fair? Is that or at least forget wildly, they are over-the-top characters.
Chet certainly
Chet
is.
certainly.
Yeah.
And they've clearly, it's written that way, and you know, Craig Bierko is awesome. So I don't want them to, you know,
Become cartoons.
I don't want them to become cartoons. I want them to retain some degree of humanity, even if they do the wrong thing, even if they're evil.
Yeah.
But sometimes, and the overt manipulation, like the key, I think, to this show's part of the success is the subtle manipulation. You're like, oh, that's so cool. But whereas, as opposed to sometimes their manipulation of the contestants, which is always fun, is like, oh, come on, nobody's this dumb not to recognize that the story is
They're being played.
You're being, like that one, they had a great line there in either the first episode or the second episode from, what's the suitor's name?
Darius.
Darius was, although referred to by inconsistently Darius at one point by a character on the show, but Darius clearly. Darius's friend Romeo, that you know, she said, you know, are you manipulating? Shiri Appleby said, you know, you're being manipulated, or are you manipulating me now? And he's like, everybody's manipulating everybody, right? Yeah. That's how this works.
That's the game.
So I'm like, oh, he's the only one. How is he the only one who's figured this? who's figured this out? So I got a little worried in this episode that,
Sounds like
they were going too far.
You're a little concerned that Lifetime might get a little too Lifetime
That's
with
right.
this series.
That's right.
Yeah, I had to say when we're at a point where we're taking the claustrophobic contestant and locking her in a room.
That was one of the things.
Like, really, that doesn't seem like a network show could get away with that
You
sort
don't
of thing.
have police powers.
Yeah.
You know, right.
Well, I was relieved.
This isn't the Flash.
That's kidnapping.
I was relieved when they, because I had that exact same feeling when I saw that they locked up Brandy into the hole, as they say. They put her in the hole. And then I was wondering, how long has she been in there? And then they very smartly clarified that it had just been a day. So let's say like 6 or 7 hours, because for a while so much happens in the show. I was thinking, has she been in there for days? How is she not starving? You know, like what is happening? But I was happy that they
some water, for God's sake.
Because so much happened in between Brandy, you know, knocking down Chantal. Is that her name?
Pulling Chantal off.
Knocking. So Chantal has a concussion or a head trauma of sorts.
They put the Revolutionary War.
But from that moment to putting, you know, Brandy in the hole and, you know, really manipulating her to the elimination ceremony, to even beyond that with the car, so much happened. It seemed like she'd been in there forever.
Yeah, they have. There's no question, as Alonso has correctly pointed out, other than that the whole thing is in the can for months before we see it. But they consistently will have timeline issues. Just from a TV production point of view, you couldn't get all that done.
Right.
But who cares?
We'll suspend our disbelief.
And of the things that I sort of forgive this show for being like, there's no way a show would do this, I have to add to the list now the hiring the actress to pretend to be Brandy's mom so that she'll have a freak out on television. Like, that works for 5 minutes, and then like it all unravels, and there's lawsuits, and
because suppose if she doesn't freak out, if she just goes, well, I guess then they just don't use it. That would be their argument. But yeah, that seemed like, and then Shiri Appleby's dismissed. Oh, you know, we're the show, and she'll just be seen as a. No, if the woman's not her mom, that's a story.
Yeah, like, and Darius will find out about it.
Darius will find out about it, and then he'll be like, so you lied to me. She was true. Now I've done something terrible to this girl who was not lying.
Yeah, that was a little bizarre.
So that's really, those are the things that, you know, locking her in the room and that with her always.
Poor Brandy.
Made me think, right after we get the moment where she's, you know, that she has this human moment where Brandy's like, you know, I don't have a lot of girlfriends. It's just I came here to meet a guy, and then it turns out I meet all these great, cool women. You know, we're like, oh no, we're gonna.
No, that's not good. That's not gonna work.
Yeah. So that said, it's not like I don't enjoy myself watching it.
No, absolutely.
And I'm not excited for it. And you know, and maybe this is what it's going to be. Just TV is so good, and there's so much realism in these shows that we review and that we love, and so much, sometimes hideous realism. That I have the cartoonish concern.
And another stud for Rachel.
Yeah, well, I was going to actually ask you guys
sorry.
about Rachel and Coleman. Do we think that they are becoming baby Quinn and Chet? You know what I mean? At the end of this episode, we see that, Rachel and Coleman are developing sort of a relationship where they are both professional and potentially romantic. And it reminded me a lot of if we had been around when Chet and Quinn had been a thing. I don't know what you guys think.
I think that Rachel will always have more humanity than Quinn, and if she just becomes a mini Quinn without that level of humanity, then it stops being interesting. And Coleman seems that way too, but we don't really know. I mean, Coleman, almost in a sense worse than Chet, has reactions of like, oh man, I can't believe we did that. That was awful. We're gonna run it. At no point does he say,
yeah, oh heavens no.
Or stop it. So he is sort of monstrous.
I think they're laying out the Quinn path for Rachel, and it's a question of does she stay on it or not. And so then I think automatically that kind of then if she gets involved with Coleman, and clearly you're right, they are approaching it both as from a romantic angle and from a in the trenches together angle. So it's certainly possible, at least the threat / possibility of that looms over it.
But the way these characters are drawn, like you look at I don't know, we probably can't get a shot of one of the promo shots we have, but look what they wear. Like that matters. Like Rachel is still like identifiably a human, even though she does these monsters. Quinn is not. Quinn has crossed into some other, she's not, she's a complicated character. She's both a badass woman fighting the odds in network television, but she is a monster.
Well, everything about Quinn, as far as how she presents, also is aggressive. Her heels are aggressive.
Everything.
Her dresses are kind of tight. They're right in your face, whereas Rachel...
The bangs.
Yeah, the bang, they cut everything, but Rachel could kind of fade into the background.
And deliberately so. And so obviously, I'm sure there will be a moment on the show where Rachel comes in
with a makeover.
With a Quinn outfit on.
Oh, I hope so.
But I don't think Quinn... And I don't know, we're not going to get a flashback, but go back 14 seasons. I don't think Quinn ever dressed like that.
But here's the thing, though. You're forgetting that Quinn is an exec, and Quinn has to talk to the network people, and Quinn has an office, and Rachel is like running around and talking to the camera guys, and is in the trenches, And of course, there's also, I think this show has always had kind of an agenda of hiding Shiri Appleby's light under a bushel as much as possible, because she's a glamorous actress who has to look like someone who works on a crew on a television show,
Right. She's one of the 14 most beautiful women on the planet. And have to make her,
But no, I agree. I think there probably will be that. I can already see in my mind the toes up reveal of Power Rachel coming in.
Power Rachel's going to happen.
Lifetime would love that.
But it is, it's definitely fun, and everybody, and I guess it's corrupting for everyone, because even the guy here,
Jason.
Jeremy.
Even Jeremy, and we have it right here.
Nailed it, guys.
Josh Kelly.
Awesome.
But why? Even he, who was filled with humanity in the first season, and had a kind fiance, and he loved Rachel. It was even his mistake was a recognizable mistake, even out of decency. He loved Rachel, and he got hurt by her, so he picked somebody else. But then when Rachel was available to him, he went back. It was okay. He's just he is now nothing. He is driven solely by ambition and spite.
Yeah, and he's almost. I don't really like him as one of Chet's cronies. I don't buy that he's bought into Chet's idea of this very animalistic, ever-blasting, animalistic, like, look at the explosions, girls in bikinis. Because I feel like, especially in the first season, we saw that Jeremy was a more complex character. So I'm not super satisfied with what they're doing with him so far.
But think of it this way, though. The crew is pretty much forced to be Team Chet or Team Quinn. And being Team Quinn is also being Team Rachel. So of course he's going to be Team Chet.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
They did. Obviously, we're set up for a significant Quinn-Rachel rift, maybe permanent. We don't know that they're ever going to be teammates again. They may. It may be permanent for her going. I imagine that Rachel can explain why that happened. I liked the Coleman's explanation of why he picked Chet.
To let himself destruct.
Oh, yes.
That was delicious.
He's right. He's Gary's buddy. Of course, I'm going to pick him. and I know you're the right choice, and I know he's going to walk into a landmine, and then I can give it to you without seeming like I'd screwed Gary's buddy.
I liked the line, I'm going to give him just enough rope so he can hang himself.
Yeah, and it was correct.
That's exactly what he's doing.
That was also a sign to us that Coleman is not an idiot.
That's why I will never be an executive producer, because I've never read Sun Tzu.
Oh, right. But the notion that an executive would show up and have a staff meeting and surprise the executive producer of a show with a $70,000 car is insane.
I don't know. You hear stories about, like, I mean, you know, when like after contract renewals, where like the entire cast of Will and Grace all got BMWs or something.
That's the cast. Like, everybody knows the stars might get something.
Right.
That's like when you're on the crew, you're built in to understand that the stars get it.
Sure.
But like, the idea would be the executive producer would give a staff member the car, like, you know, like that somebody, so that the staff is like, oh, I can't believe Larry got the car. That's awesome. Larry worked so hard, and we're all Larry. We can all be Larry. But then he gives the car to Coleman, who's like, again, the trust fund kid. It's like
and brand new.
Right, this brand new car, like for Coleman.
No, brand new on the set, she means. Coleman.
Right, brand new on the set. I mean, it will divide that crew instantly, as we saw. It was incredibly dumb.
Which is what's going to make episode 4 so interesting.
Now,
was this 3 or 2?
This was 3. Yeah.
The college black activist, I'm forgetting her name. Ruby.
Yes, Ruby.
You know, I mean, part of me likes the idea of, you know, that she's at least interested in the idea of, well, what would it be like if I wore a dress and you know, did my hair up or whatever. And then part of me thinks, really? That narrative for this smart character?
I think you are correct, because I think she probably would be too smart. The way that they introduced her, she probably would be too smart. It doesn't really add up. But the romantic in me loves that she has a crush on him. So I didn't really see that coming until Jay pointed out, like, oh, you really like him. And I was immediately, you know, I've seen The Notebook how many times. I was immediately like, yes, Ruby, go get him. It's just so basic.
That was it's funny. That was my favorite moment, because that took her from being one-dimensional. It didn't minimize. She's still smart. And smart girls fall in love, and they don't stop being smart. I know you're not in no way saying that. So I liked that complication, because it clearly bothered her. Like, she was like, I know I like him. God damn.
No, it's not even the falling in love part that I had a problem with. It's just the thing of, like, that, you know, every sort of smart girl in flats secretly wants to wear a dress and be a princess.
But I thought they did it. I thought it was nice, because she didn't really want to. Like, and it's like she thinks that too. She was like, I know, and every smart girl's got to wear a dress. But that guy was like, hey man, you're in a goddamn competition.
Right.
You want to try to win the competition or not? And then they still had it. As soon as she wore the dress, she still couldn't help but be her.
Sure. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
And I think that's a credit to the actress, because she really did show the nuance of that character. But I did kind of like her a little bit more at the beginning, but I also like that she's in love, so we'll see. I'm a big fan of Ruby. She's my girl.
Denée Benton.
No,
what's crazy is that, goddamn these shows, just like The Bachelor, we're literally wondering who's Darius going to end up with. Like, it's scripted.
I really am, though.
We're like, I wonder who's he going to
Who's he going to choose?
I had a moment, I'm like, I hope Ruby wins. It's fake. It's fake. It's double fake.
But, well, you know, one of the things that bugged me in season 1 was that Quinn and Rachel were constantly being surprised at who the suitor was picking.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you guys didn't tell him who to pick, or you wouldn't at least have mapped it out beforehand, so he'd pick the right one last for maximum suspense value. And so that's another thing on this show where I'm like, I don't buy that.
But they did. That was one of the things with Adam, though, is he fought back against that every step of the way. He deliberately tried to screw them, and that was like, they did make a point in the first season of like, this is the first guy who's not our manipulation is not
right.
working.
But the thing is, I don't believe that you have to manipulate the guy. I believe that it's literally, okay, we're having a meeting now and we're going to tell you who you're picking. And you might have some input, but ultimately we're going to decide this, and you're not going to spring it on us on the set where we suddenly realize, oh, you like the rodeo girl? What?
Yeah,
put a camera on her, you know.
Right. You mean that it's his choice, but they know what that choice is.
At least,
okay,
yeah.
All right, that's probably true. All right, good stuff. We'll be back, not all of us, but we'll be back next week with more UnREAL. Thanks, everybody.